Hello, I think we're on the Wheel Talk Live podcast. Now, you might think I thought your name was Joe, but actually, as I said to the lads off camera, I look like Janice from our free on Tesco in Paddington doing a major cleanup. Now, as people know, I mainly do solo videos these days, and I don't do podcasts as much because, off the record, I find them quite boring and it lacks a bit of variety. But as I said once again to the lads of camera, I like giving a platform to, real, honest, working class people and people that I know as well. And for that reason, I'm delighted to be joined by Josh and Jacob from Stratpole Surprise, two lads who I went to school with. Big up, Blessed Trinity Massive. How are you
Hello.
both?
Brilliant, Joe. How are you, mate?
I'm good as
Yeah,
well.
buzzing to have you on and absolutely seeing great things that you've been doing with your sports product supply business. We'll talk about that in a moment because obviously there's loads of great things to get into there, boys. But can you talk about? We like to do a little bit like James English, but I've got no hair.
Yeah.
Would you talk a bit about your sort of upbringing and where your, combat sports interests first peaked?
So, first of all, obviously, thanks for having us on. We're buzzing to be on. Yeah, it's a real honour to be on a podcast with someone like you. You're a true inspiration, mate. You really are. Um,
Thank you very much, Paula.
but like growing up for us, we're probably pretty similar to a lot of people in Burnley. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we lived with our mum. Parents were separated, and it was just basically, do you know, we grew up young, we learnt a lot, and yeah, it's not a bad place to grow up, Burnley. I like the people from Burnley. Do you know what I mean? They're pretty genuine, and we've made some good mates and stuff. And yeah, it were tough, but life's not easy, is it? So it's one of them things.
Absolutely. In terms of obviously the business that you're in, did you ever have any sort of dealings doing, I don't know, jiu-jitsu, uh, sword fighting, whatever you want
A bit of sore fighting like between me and him,
to,
but
you
no.
know, I know there's obviously an amateur gym called Sandygate in Burnley. Have you ever been in and around gyms or fitness since you were kids or what? Yeah.
When we were youngsters, like maybe from age of probably maybe even like 5 or 6 year old, maybe to age of 8, 9, we did judo with my granddad. My granddad Brad, he were a brown belt in judo, so he wanted us to go judo when we were younger. So he took us there. We stuck at it for a bit,
And Ollie were there as
and
well. So
Ollie,
the
the other
third head in the
the third
business.
head of the business, he used to go as well. This was before we're mates,
So
so
we all trained like as youngsters, not even knowing, and now obviously it's progressed into this, which is mad, isn't it?
and then after that it were Roaches. Dad got us into boxing, so we went down to Roaches.
I've
Uh,
heard of that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
so and then we trained there for a bit, and we one of them we never really took it seriously when we were younger. We just like dabbled in it, and we'd do a couple of
Yeah.
months, uh, and then yeah, as we got into teenagers, really, we kind of
We
like
fell in love with beer and
I don't know
like
if
you
you
do you know what I mean? And going out and kind of training took a back step, didn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Really.
definitely.
And then I remember Josh went down to kickboxing down at Black Knights, and he'd only been there a couple of weeks. And he asked me to go down, and I'll be honest with you, I were I was
He
shitting
was
it.
shitting
Yeah,
himself.
so sorry for the language, but
No, you're right,
I
pal. It's
were,
all
and
good.
I went down and I found a love for it. Do you know what I mean? And it really were like then I proper took it. Then
Yeah,
I
and then he
proper
took
took it
over
on.
me, and then I stopped going there, and then got back into training and also bits of lifting weights and that, and then I ended up thinking, you know what, I want to get back into boxing or something. So Ollie, the other member at business, he signed me up for a white collar fight last year.
Oh, wow.
So I did a white collar boxing fight. I lost it first round, didn't go my way. Um,
Taking part that counts, lad, innit?
Oh,
You
it
know?
does
it is,
too,
yeah,
mate.
it is, yeah. So obviously it didn't go my way. But I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the build up. I enjoyed the training, and I just thought, you know what, if I just leave it there, I feel like it's a bit unfinished. So I'm carrying on training. I don't know if I'm gonna have another fight in the near
Yeah.
future. It might be a while, but that got me back into it. Although, I mean, we've both always we've watched all combat sport. I mean, we've
Yeah,
always
watched
watched
it all growing
UFC,
up.
boxing. It's something we've always been into, kickboxing, Muay Thai. We love all sports. So I think that we got the passion
100%.
just probably from watching it. And my dad, my dad used to show his UFCs when we were younger. Before they were when you used to have to buy them on like on a DVD. You see them from Blockbusters, like you can get all the events and stuff. So that kind of just created our passion for it, and then we just
And then it's like Ollie, he got into it a little bit later than us, to be fair, but he like took it under his wing quick, didn't he? And
yeah.
he ended up competing quite a few times, and now he's actually competing at quite a high level. And there'll be some news soon about his next sort of fight that he'll be in. That's why he can't be here today, because obviously he takes training very seriously, and it's one of them things. But he's really took it on. And so it was
Yeah.
like a growing passion that we've all had from being like young to now, really. And
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's the best thing I've ever done. If anything, I'd say it's really sorted me out and it's saved me in a sense, because it's brilliant for your mental health. And do you know what I mean? It's the best way to channel something if you're going through something, to channel it like that, and not in other ways that you can channel it. Do you know what I mean? Which maybe aren't too good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I were going to talk about this later on, but it feels appropriate just to not look at questions and have a conversation. I've done podcasts with people before, and they say a lot of creativity from working class people comes out of boredom and not having a lot to do, and perhaps going down a path where you just live for 2 days at the end of the week. And to be honest, since I've sort of discovered the ability to go out there and do that, more, even though I don't do that,
Yeah, yeah.
don't completely sober, don't drink or anything, you get into a sort of cycle of just this mirage at the end of the week, and it's about like getting getting a balance to that as best as possible, isn't it? And would you say sports have done that to you, for you both?
100%, and it's like
Yeah.
you've got to enjoy yourself, ain't you, still, and everything in moderation is brilliant. And I really I wanted to even ask you about like how's it all going with that, because looking at it from afar and everything you've got set up and stuff, and I'm still meaning to donate to your new chair and stuff, but
It's all right,
it's
pal.
it's absolutely brilliant, Joe, what I'm seeing, and for you to be able to make that space not seem as daunting for other people in your position. It's a true
Yeah, it
inspiration,
is.
mate. It
It is
really is.
definitely.
It's honestly, I can't even express how happy I am for you. I really am.
Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. And would you say, you know, finding combat sports sort of gradually sort of showed you a different path in life, or that it didn't have to just be all about one thing, you know?
Most definitely. Like I said, I think for me, I've never been a confident person as much as I might seem it to some people. Um, you know what I mean? I'm not always confident. I am obviously like everyone else. I have my days where I'm like full of self doubt, full of like a bit of anxiety. Less than more nowadays, but it used to be a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, man.
So by having something to focus on, like a combat sport, or even just like fitness in general, it just gives you a bit of purpose, and it reinforces your mind a little bit. Um, Obviously, the thing is that what doing any combat sport, it's a very daunting thing to do. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of bollocks even just to get in a ring. Excuse me, French, but
There you are, pal. Let's just throw that no swearing thing out the window at this point. It doesn't matter. If anyone wants to tell me off for it, I'll do it. Don't you worry. Just carry on going.
but but yeah, you know what I mean. It takes a lot to get in there. It takes a lot to even walk into a gym and just train. So I feel like I kind of needed to do this for myself because I just thought by me getting out my comfort zone in that way and by me doing something that does terrify me in a way, it's going to bring the best out in me. It's going to make other things in life that almost felt daunting before feel less daunting because I've started stepping into uncomfortable situations like that, and it makes you more confident in your decisions in life. If that makes any sense. Uh,
Yeah,
so it's done a hell of a lot for both of us, I think, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, because if we would have carried on really at what we're doing, the walking, like you mentioned previously, like the walking were a massive thing really. for us to get into because we were into combat sports, but we were still the balance that we had in life were just completely off. And doing the walking kind of dragged us back into the right thing, and it kind of give you some purpose because it's like you can fall astray very easily, can't you, nowadays? And it kind of gives us that purpose
Yeah,
in it,
it
and give obviously we had to train for it to do it, and coming out of that, it made us think maybe we should start taking this training a lot more seriously in 2025 and back into 2024. Were really good and really eye opening, and just kind of because they were, weren't they? It was
Yeah.
just good to train and take it seriously, and yeah, and realize how good life were we out. Do you know what I mean? Having to just get blooded every weekend to try and just escape. You more or less going into a gym and escaping, and it were good. It were good.
Yeah, man. And something that just popped up into my head there in terms of moving on to the business before we talk about the walking later. Turning passion into a project. That's how I would describe Strap. My view of Strap Pro Supplies. When did Strap Pro Supplies come about with you lads, all three of you? And yeah, go ahead.
So originally it was me and Ollie who started it up, and it was like a spur of the moment thing. Ollie said, "Do you want to order some gear from like Thailand?" And I said, instead of just ordering it for us to use and train, why don't we start selling it? And it literally just come about like that. And then we didn't realize everything that were attached to it, like all the things you've got to acquire to be able to even run a business. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't really have much money or much knowledge on anything in it. It took a lot of learning, and then not before long, we introduced Josh to it, and
I
because he
kind of,
always wanted to, he always wanted to be
I
involved,
kind of
didn't you?
wanted to get involved, but it was like me. I'll make an excuse for myself, mate. I'll go, oh, you know what I mean. Maybe I don't have the spare money every month to put into it, and I'll kind of like trying to talk myself out of it. And it was another thing. I just thought, you know what, you need to. If it's something you want to do, and I know it was another way of me getting out of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
I need to get involved with this with these, because I'm passionate about it myself, and I seen how passionate these two are about it, and I thought there'd be nothing better to
There's
share that
nothing.
passion between us all. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And like you said, turn it into a project. And obviously in that way, it's our business, and it's just
And there's
it's
nothing easy. Like there's nothing easy about it. Like people are looking now, and they'll probably think, "Oh bloody hell!" Like they've had it. They've got it easy. Do you know what I mean? But it's so hard. Do you know what I mean? To try and find out what works, and when you don't have the money to get people to do stuff for you, like run your ads and stuff, or even down to creating content and just trialing different stuff. It were hard, weren't it? It
yeah,
were like
it
just
were
trying to find what works, and but suppose that's the beauty of it, and that's where you really learn all these skills. And not only does it make you learn a lot about like the business side of things, you learn a lot about yourself because you're like, right, well, I've got to cut down on this and cut down on that in order to put money away to try and get this, and this might not work, but it's all risk. And yeah, and now we're here, and it's doing well in it. We
yeah.
moved into an office and stuff, so that were good. Um, but yeah, it's all going well.
We're learning every day. We're just learning
Learning.
on job really. It's I feel like
We're not pros, are we?
oh,
We're just three lads from a council estate
we're just trying to make
who
it
are just
work, you
trying to
know what
make
I
it. Do
mean?
you know what I mean? And
Trying to make it work.
yeah,
I think that's like where the best creative ideas come from, like where you just like don't necessarily follow a formula. If you just being yourself and doing it the way you want to do it, then it will like fall into place. Where do you source the products from, and what's the idea in terms of talk about the certain type of products you have and why that might be? Sorry to put you on the spot.
no, no, it's all right. So we get everything from
Yeah.
Thailand. Well, majority of stuff. We do have a couple of UK suppliers that we work with, but we tend to work with the ones in Thailand just purely down to the fact that they have a lot more on offer that we can get. But yeah, and we stock like gloves, shin
Yeah.
guards, belly pads, thigh pads, Muay Thai shorts. We actually then released our own gym sets, didn't we? In summer last year, which didn't do too well, but it were again it were like trying to create a brand. Like all the gloves and stuff that we're selling are already branded, so they they kind of recognised us. Then when we released this gym set, it weren't.
I think that's the harder thing. It's
Yeah.
especially when it comes to selling brands that are already established is pretty. You don't have to do much to sell them. You know what I mean? If people know the
Yeah.
brand, if it's a well-established brand, they can get, you know what I mean? They can get it off you. They can also get it off anyone else. But obviously, it's an easier, if you will, it's an easier product to
Tell.
sell. But obviously, with a gym set that we've created, it's like
No one
doesn't have
knows who we are,
that
do
backing
they?
behind it, does it? It's just like so.
I
We
think
wanted to do that because we wanted to put our own personality into it. You know what I mean? And obviously that's something that you know what I mean. That's probably going to take you, maybe a year or maybe a couple of years to actually master for us. But I feel that's another thing we're looking forward to doing. You know what I mean? It's it'd be great to start, to have that person, them
yeah, to give
personalized
that
and
personalised feel to it maybe later on. Like obviously we've still got the gym sets and stuff, but the main focus now is getting the other brands there. And like you say, we're constantly learning every day. So it's finding what works, getting products that work and some that don't, but that you can't determine what will and what won't work until you've bought it. And then obviously you've spent the money then, haven't you? So you've just got to kind of roll with it. But that's life.
How do you balance that dynamic as brothers and as with your friend as well? Because I imagine obviously when you spend a lot of time with someone, I know that this is the case with obviously many people in my life. You do have intense relationships where you absolutely want to smash someone's head off the wall because
We
they've
know
said
well, we'll
they've said
figure that out before
yeah.
you even start a business, us two, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
How do you balance that and like who plays what role kind of thing out of the three of you?
So it's probably all like a pretty similar role, to be fair. Sometimes I can come across as like a bit of a. I always say to them like, I'm not trying to control you, and they understand. They say, no, no, we know it's good, but I always like make us a little list of stuff we have to do, and do you know what I mean? I'm always like trying to get everything ticked off and keep everything in check. But all three of us are really good at that. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like it's a very, very well split, divided business, if you will, and people always say don't go into business with your friends or family, but obviously me and Josh are twin brothers, and Ollie is. We say we are brothers, the three of us. Do you know what I mean? Because
I
it's
mean,
That's meant.
we've all been mates for so long, haven't we? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, and we've like grown up very similar, and we've been through the same struggles. Do you know what I mean? So it brings you all closer together, and then to tell them 14-year-old lads when we're all chilling together that this is where we be now. Obviously we're not millionaires and we're not smashing it. Do you know what I mean? But to just be proud of something and have a passion that's turned into a project now,
yeah,
it
of
means so much to us.
course it does.
Well, I sort of disagree there when you say you're not smashing it because I've seen all sorts of great stuff you're doing. You're working with athletes, aren't you? You're doing ads, like you say. Is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Are you working with an athlete called Chris, or were
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
at
yeah,
some
yeah.
stage?
yeah.
Do you talk a bit about that?
Well, yeah. So basically, Chris is obviously he's a Blackman lad. Yeah, he's a good lad though.
Oh,
He's one of the
red
good
flag.
ones. He's
Yeah.
one of the good ones. But no, Chris is amazing as Chris. I mean, he's had a life and a career in MMA. He's a professional MMA fighter. He fights in cage warriors, but he's had a career full of adversity. I think it was in his second or maybe third pro fight. Might even been his first. He snapped his shin, and he's still carried on. Worked his way right up to the pros. Uh, Obviously fights for cage warriors now, and he's another inspiration. I mean,
You're very down to
a
earth,
very down to earth,
good
just
lad.
good lad, and
Yeah, and he's had his battles, hasn't he, and stuff with everything, but he's come out the other side stronger. Do you know what I mean? It's good to see that no matter what you get put in front of you, like you can make it work. And Chris has got autism, and he puts it out there that it's not like something that's a stigma on him. Do you know what I mean? And people get told certain things that they can't, that maybe you can't do certain things because of a disability, and he's proved that. Do you know what I mean? You can, and you can go out there and overcome these things.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
he's absolutely brilliant. He's a real true inspiration.
He is.
And very, very proud to call him our friend, aren't we now? Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
because it's kind of obviously we kind of built the relationship at the start. It's basically like, you know, it kind of like kind of just we're gonna start just as a business thing, you know what I mean? But as we got to know Chris and obviously got involved with some of the content and that, we've been out for food a few times, we've even been on a night out with him,
Yeah, and
and he's just a top lad. And I
he's
just
just
said it. I
proper
said
top
this is
lad.
more than, you know what I mean. We feel like we'll always be mates with him now, and you know, regardless of how this goes, he'll always be someone who you can call a mate. But
100%. And he's
like,
done a lot for us,
he's done a
hasn't
lot
he?
for us, but we want to return. Obviously, we'd love to return that favour as well. So
What advice is he giving you in terms of like product sourcing or the right fit in terms of product for an athlete? You know.
So he said, well, we originally we like met up with Chris and we like kind of explained the situation that like we ain't got like in-depth kit and stuff to be able to give him, but we sorted him some gear out and he buzzed off it, didn't he? And
yeah,
he said
yeah.
honestly, he said the quality of it and stuff, and he always wears our gym sets, so the quality is like second to none. He don't really have a foot in with the kind of product side of it, does he? But
He's helped us with the social media
he's
though.
massively helped us with social media.
He's being an MMA fighter and being an up and coming MMA fighter. You have to kind of market. I mean, you'll know yourself with a lot of athletes nowadays, but the social media and the marketing yourself is just as important as being, you know, a world class athlete. If you can't market
Mm.
yourself, you can't build you know, like what would you say, a following for yourself. Your career can take, you know, can go in two directions. So obviously, he's been doing that with his social media. He does all funny sort of skits, and he's, you know what I mean. He is a character anyway, so it comes naturally to him all this sort of
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
this sort, you know, this sort of social media side of things. So he's helped us with that. I mean, he
Even
helped us
like
with
down to filming them first videos,
yeah.
and we've never been on camera before, really,
And he was like, it's
and
easy.
we were like, if it were left to us, it wouldn't have gone so
No, it
well,
would
would
have
it? But
been.
Chris kind of brought us out our shells, and he made it so easy to do, and it was just a brilliant day, weren't it? That was
Yeah.
the first time we met him, and
I
I
mean,
don't know if you've
surely
seen the video of him kicking
I mean, getting
kicking his
leg
hip
kicked.
leg, and
You know,
oh, it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. The thing is, right, so obviously when we filmed that thing, like I was just boxing at that point. So but I was saying these lot were pulling me leg, they're like, oh, you gotta come and do a bit of Muay Thai. We was like, a bit of Jake and Ollie, oh, you should get into it, like, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna do with boxing. And obviously I took that leg kick and it kind of made me think like, you know what, I probably could do with getting involved. I know that put some people off, but I thought that hurt so much that I don't want it to hurt. You know what I mean? So the only way it's not going to hurt again is if I start getting kicked in the leg a bit more.
It were
Uh,
brilliant.
yeah.
but it were funny and it were good. I mean, that was like a good icebreaker. First time the first time we'd all sat in a room together properly. You know what I mean?
And he's
Really.
kicking us all in
And
the
his
leg.
kickers. And he went, "Do you want to do a leg kick challenge?" And we were like, I was thinking, I didn't really come here for that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
Just
we were trying to get out of it, and then it were brilliant. Though it not only made it good content, but like I say, it brought the ice and like really, really like I don't know. It was just after that, it were easy work.
yeah,
After we'd all been kicked in the leg, we seemed to all get on a lot easier. So it was good.
You should have messaged me, Josh, and I'd have let you borrow my wheelchair, and I would have just led down for me so you could have recovered.
I mean, so
Uh,
I think I needed it after that anyway. Bloody hell.
in terms of the two spots, this weren't even on the question list. What do you think is the more varied skill set? Because even though I'm a massive boxing fan, if an MMA fighter's getting in the room, they're absolutely taking out the boxer within about 10 seconds, regardless of size. Because it's just where they're able to pinpoint on the body in it, the different pressure points. Like you said, he's probably kicked you not even that hard, but your legs probably went immediately from
Yeah,
under you.
yeah,
Do
they
you know?
did, yeah. Well, it kind of like, I mean, compared to we kick you and all that, I like bitched out at like what was it,
Yeah,
10,
Yeah.
20%, and them two were like,
we went for 100, didn't we?
but no. If I were going to compare, so I mean, they both it takes skill to do both of them. Obviously, I feel like with MMA, you've just gonna have such more of you've got to have a more balanced like skill set. In boxing, you can get a long way with, you know, you can be one style, you can get a long way with that style, and obviously you've only got to think about, you know, a pair of hands coming back at you. You know what I mean? You ain't got to think about kicks or takedowns. You know what I mean? Submissions and stuff. With MMA, it's like you've just got to be so much more well balanced. You can't you can't go far in MMA with just one with a strength in one area. You've got to have strength in multiple areas. You know what I mean? You've got to be skilled in multiple areas. Um, so it is. I mean, I think an MMA fight's probably an harder fight to train for, but I think comparing the two sports, I mean, they both just
They
it's
both take so demanding, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah,
And like utmost respect to anyone who's like doing them full time and that, like especially to Chris, because everyone thinks that these pro fighters are on like loads of money and stuff, but a lot of them are purely just doing it for the love of it, and you're not on
yeah.
big money until you're up there. So, and it's like obviously boxing pays a lot better, but even so, when you're at the lower ranks, you're not making tons of money, and they're purely there for the love of it and the dedication and stuff that it takes to be able to fight at like that high level. Like there's a few good lads from Burnley coming through at the minute. Like little Nathan Danson, he's on
Gorilla.
Hills, yeah, and that's crazy, really. I remember watching him as a kid and thinking, wow, he's shit hot, do you know what I mean? And to see him on that now, it's like people are really getting places, aren't they? And
Yeah.
you can be from a small place like Burnley and make it, can't you? It just shows you that.
What would that mean to you lads, I suppose, to be part of that movement and perhaps, supplying products to like a Burnley fighter who was, who made it pro, but made it pro to a decent level? That would be like a mint feeling to, be part of a platform that someone was able to get on to then, provide them opportunities.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course it would. Of
100%. Yeah,
course
it's
it would. I mean,
brilliant.
just the even just being from even being from the same place or knowing a person who's able to do something like that is a much of an honor, isn't it? You know what I mean? If someone comes out of your town and they end up making it big, it's like it almost makes the whole town feel prouder, doesn't it? Because it feels like they've got their own,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? They've got their own like star, if you will. But obviously to supply gear to them is like it's and to obviously to maybe aid their career and aid their training, and to obviously to feel like you're a part of it, but is even more, it's something even to be even
Definitely.
more proud of, you know what I mean? But obviously we're just gonna see how things go. I mean, that'd be a massive
That'd be
like
yeah,
a
it'd be
massive
definitely
accomplishment for us,
ideal.
definitely, you know what I mean?
100%. It's like there's still stuff now that that we're doing, and like when we just little wins, do you know what I mean? And they might not seem big to everyone else, but like you when you hit these little milestones, maybe it's like 500 followers, or you have a certain person view your story, or like a certain person follow you, or you like your highs that you hold as like high regards or this high caliber, and it's no one really sees them, do they? But that's like a little nice little
Yeah,
win at the end
most
that you
definitely.
can say like, wow, even that were a good thing.
Absolutely. And as this is a question that I didn't even have in me on my notes, but I remembered that recently you went traveling, didn't you, Jacob, for a little bit? Did you go to Australia? Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Where did you go, pal?
I went to Adelaide in Australia for a 5 week. It were brilliant. It were yeah, it were really good. And it were a good time of year to go as well with weather here.
Would you say that put things into perspective and help you sort of have a refreshed mindset or bounce little ideas in coming back and sort of transferring them things you might have learned about yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It were not only like it were a good reset and stuff, but like to see a place. Obviously, I love the UK, do you know what I mean? But to go over there and see the nice weather and stuff and just be walking on a beach and just to be grateful for just being in the sunshine. Obviously I'm grateful here anyway, but to be grateful for the weather and stuff and to see people I haven't seen for a long while, it were nice, do you know what I mean? It makes you come back with that refreshed mindset of like maybe I can do that one day, you know, and move out there for good, and it's one of them things. It puts everything in perspective that makes you want to work harder, if you will, because you think maybe I could go and live somewhere like that or spend quite a lot of my time out there a year.
Absolutely. And I just think it's absolutely mint what you two both do. Not even before I even knew about what Stratport to bars were about, following what you were doing with your walking and talking about mental health. And you know what, one thing that like really sort of I get from you two is Like you're comfortable in adversity, and please don't ever let it be understated the impact you did with the walking and getting your story out there on the Burnley Express, and the great coverage you received, because it's vital that we provide this space for men in particular to talk about these kind of things. And like, as I always say on my page, people automatically look at me as this person who's positive, but just because what you see on camera is something, it doesn't mean it actually is something. I think we're all a bit nuts in our own way,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's how we channel that, and you certainly seem to channel that through your walking the Three Peaks. Wait, a couple of years ago now. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we dropped in
2024.
2024, didn't we? But we did a lot of the training walks. But we thought it'd be obviously what happened with our dad, with him taking his own life and stuff. It really puts stuff into perspective, and it was such a long time before. Obviously, we were only 16 at the time, and we'd never really understood mental health, if you will, before then. Well, I hadn't anyway, and I don't know if you had, but I just hadn't, and until that happened, and I started obviously treating the weekends as what I shouldn't have been treating them as, and kind of getting myself into a bad headspace. Only then I started to experience my own poor mental health, and the thing that really dragged me out of it were talking to my mates, and going out and doing stuff that I enjoyed doing for myself, and not just trying to hide everything and just hide
Yeah.
away from everything, and just be a lie to yourself, if you know what I mean. And
I think like obviously I would kind of I'd say when it happened, like obviously when it happened when we were 16, it were a massive shock. It kind of, I mean, to be totally honest, a lot of the year seemed like a blur um since it happened. However, it's like it didn't really hit me straight away. I kind of always tried to put it to one side and push it away, and any time, I mean, we used to ever get brought up, I kind of like shut it down. You know what I mean? I thought ignorance is really bliss with it, which was not the right way to go about it. Because years later, then probably in 2022, maybe that's when it all started hitting me. And that's when I thought, you know what, I need to make a change here. I need something needs to change, or something's going to give. Obviously, so I had my struggles that year, or just a bit. Had a couple of, like, I don't know if you call them breakdowns, but where things got too much, and then obviously, um, after finishing my apprenticeship and that, I kind of got back into gym and training, and then you mentioned it, didn't you? And why
that's
don't we
the
do a
so why
walk?
don't we do a walk for it? Because we'd done little bits of walks here and there with our mates, and like it were a common theme that like we were constantly like in a bad headspace really when we weren't really doing anything for ourselves
Yeah,
beneficial. So, and when we went on these walks and stuff, or just even talk to people, the walks were just a good space to be able
Yeah.
for men to connect like that. And when we did them walks just as mates, like we could actually genuinely get people on this and kind of get people involved and get people talking. Do you know what I mean? And that's all what it were about at the start. And then I think on Pendle Hill we had like 60 people, were it
yeah.
50, 60 people at Pendle Hill, and that were crazy because it started off like I think there
Just
were
more,
four of us
yeah,
at
with a small
first,
group, and
weren't they?
like kind of it were the same face the first couple of walks, and then that obviously because the other walks were outside of Burnley, so they weren't as accessible to everyone. You know what I mean? People have commitments and stuff. But when we did the Pendle Hill one, we said I bet you a lot more people turn up to this one because I mean
Yeah,
everyone's got enough time to just take a trek up Pendle. You know what I mean? Especially on
100%.
like on a weekend or something. Um, so obviously yeah, that were the one that were really like,
It was an
yeah,
eye opener,
it
weren't it?
were
And
how many people actually were like observing it, and then obviously when it came to actually doing the big walk, it just felt like we had so much more support for it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, and it were obviously there were going to be no discretion if we didn't do it in time and stuff, but it kind of when we'd added so much weight to it over them 12 months, it were like, no, we've got to do it in the time that we said because there's so many people there. And I know no one would have been bothered, but it really inspired us, didn't it? And I remember we were walking up, it's like you're walking up Scarfell Park at like, what were it, 3 o'clock in the morning, it were raining, it were pitch black. And then
And we
we
just
just
like we
didn't
bet
stop, did
we
we?
bet we bet. So we came from when we came from Nevis to Scarfell. I mean, we were like, oh, well, we can get, that's the longest part of the drive. We'll be able to get some, a bit of kip and that in between and kind of
And we'd
recover.
done Ben Nevis in like record time, so we'd
Yeah.
have loads of time for driving. But
So we were like, oh, we can play catch up here a bit. We can have a bit of a nap and that. But I tell you what, in back of a camper van, at like, half 11 at night driving.
when all
Well,
motorways were
all
closed,
motorways were they were all sorts. Loads of when you talk about adversity, there were a lot of adversity on
yeah,
that.
they were a lot.
They were luckily we did it in a quicker time than we expected, so we give ourselves that little extra bit of
Yeah,
leeway. But we couldn't sleep up way down, could we? In back
No,
of the
and then
van.
it were like we got to Scarfell and you just like
we're-
your body's aching. We got up and it were pitch black raining, weren't it?
Yeah.
And it were it weren't a very good experience. But then we'd finished Scarfell and we were under the impression that we weren't going to do it in time, even after doing Ben Nevis so fast. But we managed to get to Snowdon and I think we did it. We did it in 23 and a half hours, so there were half an hour to go. That's obviously all driving included. And we just got to the bottom, and Grandad were there, weren't he? And he had a
Yeah.
can for us
And
both.
a can of beer each for us, and
And we cracked a can at the bottom, and we were like, "Wow, that were like the longest
It were.
24 hours of my life."
it were a proper good experience. It were.
Yeah, it was right.
It was just something that like we said after we started, we probably won't do it again. But like, if there were ever a chance to do something like that again, I think even more so now because I'm like, what we did it, I reckon we could absolutely smash it now, wouldn't we? You know what I mean? So we could probably set the bar even higher. But it was a
100%.
good experience, obviously, with doing it with my granddad and my nan being there. Obviously, my nan, being my dad's mum, obviously. So she lost her son when my dad passed away. So I think just having
Having them two there, it was so hard
involved,
for her as well. And but having them there on the final, so the day that having Nana and Grandad there on that day where we were doing it, and my granddad said, "I'm happy to drive. If you let me drive, I'll do it." And I was like, "We want nothing more. Do you know what I mean? That'd help us out massively." So he drove. Yeah, and it was just a very humble experience at the end. It were kind of one of them things though where like you've built it up for so long, you expect like this when it's done, you think, oh wow, like I'm gonna feel a certain way, and it was just done then, and everything you'd worked up to over them 12 months were like it were a good feeling, but it were like I
Yeah.
don't know what you expect at the
Yeah,
start,
yeah.
but it's just that's it, innit? It's done, and
Yeah. I think that's a good way to perhaps sign off because constantly we are always chasing this mirage of this word happiness. But actually, maybe happiness is just sat here in the ability to sort of manage all thoughts and feelings. Because I think I don't necessarily like Tyson Fury as much as I did previously, but I think he actually said when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, he was expecting to feel on top of the earth, on top of the world, sorry, because obviously he's achieved his greatest achievement, but that feeling only then lasts 10 seconds and your head falls off because you chase this feeling for, 15, 20 years, however long, and then it's just like, is that it? But actually, it's perhaps learning to appreciate, like you said earlier, those little wins. And
Yeah,
yeah,
feel the
I,
process, don't you?
Yeah, you gotta enjoy the journey, aren't you? You can't always be thinking of the final destination, can you? You know what I mean? And how much joy that's gonna bring you. You've got to enjoy the whole process of it, like, and obviously that's what Tyson said. That's exactly probably what he probably agree with that, wouldn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I've really, really enjoyed this podcast. We've been speaking for nearly 40 minutes. To be fair, with how quick we was all speaking, I thought we'd be over in about 10, 15, but we've done really, really well. Lads, I just want to say personally, because I'm a bit of a deep guy, I'm proper proud of you. I know that obviously I don't know you as well as other people, but I think it's absolutely mega what you're doing. 100% all people that know you, absolutely proud of you. Thank you very much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Joe.
No problem at all. It's one of as soon as you messaged me about it, I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah,
This
we've got to.
this is
We have a lot of respect for you. Obviously,
you know,
we've known each other for a long time now, haven't we? And I know we haven't seen each other for Probably, well, it'd be a good few years now, won't it, that we've seen each other in person, but obviously it's like we've never not. And yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Usually coming off the turf, absolutely fuming because we've been battered.
I
Haven't we?
know.
Yeah. But finally, lads, have you got any sign-off thoughts or any advice for anyone who's following anything that they love?
Well, first bit of advice I'd just give regarding mental health, but also like just getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that you necessarily like that scare you. You know what I mean? And facing some of your fears. Listen, like I'm still doing it, on a daily basis. Like I'm not where I want to be, and I don't think personally, I don't think I ever will be where I want to be. But I just think you've got to always push yourself and get out of your comfort zone and try new things and do things that scare you in a way. Because I just don't think you'd rather do that than live in regret, wouldn't you? So I think you gotta take risks, and along with if you've got mental health issues and you know what I mean, you are feeling down and depressed. Doing things like that will improve that, improve that situation. Will give you something to focus on, give you something to appreciate in life.
Yeah, and I don't really know what to say, mate. It's just like, just be grateful for everything and
Yeah.
take these little wins. And if you've got something that you want to do, then just go and do it. Because if it don't work out, it's a lesson, and if it does, then it could be the greatest thing ever. So just roll with it and just see what happens.
Nice one. That's very appropriate. Roll with it, given my predicament. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way.
That's all right. See that special thing at wall.
Yeah, no, so it's got two meanings, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I'll end the recording, but good to speak to you boys and speak to you after I press stop. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.